Welcome to the Brokest Guy in the Room. This is Chris Kushner. I'm here with Ravi Walsh, my good friend and mentor, guru. So we're coming here today to kind of start talking about what the Brokest Guy in the Room is and what it means to us and why we're sharing it with you. The Brokest Guy in the Room is a term that I've jokingly used for a long time when people ask me what I did for a living, because it's always been, the running joke was, well, I made a career being the brokest guy in the room. Funny part about that is, as a result, you live a lot of your life. In my case, I live most of my life very jealous with a huge chip on my shoulder, constantly wondering why is everybody around me, why does everybody around me have something I want other than me? And that was kind of the existential question for me. And of course, now I can look at it, and obviously what I was overlooking was, you're supposed to benefit from those. You're surrounded by people who uplift you. Some people search their whole lives to be so lucky. So why the brokest guy in the room? The brokest guy in the room is because I was fortunate enough to have the epiphany and the awakening and realization that this was not a curse, but the greatest blessing that ever occurred to me. Now I can tell you that I wholeheartedly aspire to be the brokest guy in the room for the rest of my life. As long as that remains true, I'm going up. I'm on the rise. I'm constantly. I use this metaphor, goes back to real estate. You'll hear often, anybody who knows real estate, you never want to be the most expensive house on the block. Why? The most expensive house on the block benefits every other house on the block. Every other house on the block benefits from the most expensive house on the block because it raises their value. So what does that mean with regards to the least expensive house on the block? That means every other house on the block is lifting that one up. That's pretty awesome. And that's what the aspiration of being the brokest guy in the room is all about. So now I'm going to introduce Ravi Walsh. Ravi came to me in a period of my life where I was in a lot of inner turmoil, a lot of anger. And Ravi was the person who first introduced intention setting to me, mindfulness, tracking. And I can tell you that paying attention to that, being aware, has changed my life. It came in a moment when I realized there was, we have children and we often give the best advice that we could ever give freely without realizing it's so damn good. In this case, I was always telling my daughter, always know what you're doing and why you're doing it. Yet there I was at 34 years old, 33, I can't remember how old I was, but there I was with no intention, no purpose. I didn't know why I was just doing it because I was trying to make money. I don't know, that's why, but that's not good enough. It's not good enough. And anyone who doesn't believe it, do it for 10 years and call me when you're miserable, because you will, I promise you. There's no amount of money in the world that'll keep you from being miserable in that. So Ravi showed me about intention setting, mindfulness, and now I can tell you that I always know what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And so Ravi, talk a little bit about your perspective.
Thanks, Chris. So when Chris brought up the brokest guy in the room, I didn't think of it as money. I saw an image of a guy with cracks all over his body. And in yoga, the cracks are where the light gets in. So I love this title, and it's because you want to be the brokest guy in the room. You want to be the brokest gal in the room. You want your brakes to flash open so that the light can get in and the light can get out. When you got your shit together, when your life is going well, that's good. That's great. Enjoy that. But we all know that nothing's juicy is happening when that's going on. It's when somebody's life, falls apart, that even in gossip circles, that person rises to the top. We want to see, what are you going to do with this? So when we're the brokest guy in the room, we're facing opportunities like we've never faced them before. And freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. So when you are broken, you're free. And that is the perfect time to pause and use those breaks to ask yourself some deeper questions. Who am I? Why am I here? Why is this happening to me in my life? What do I want to do? Who do I want to become? When our life is going well, when everything is put together, we rarely take the time to do that. But when you're the brokest guy in the room and nobody wants to hang out with you, now it's just you and either your porn or your drink and it's okay. That's what you're doing. So get clear. Look, this is you. This is what you're doing. This is how you do it. You begin to wake up, and that's what life's all about, is waking up from illusions that we pursue blindfolded. You go to school, you stay in school, you keep going, you pursue money, but a film comes over our eyes when that's happening. If we're not broken, you are on automatic pilot. So you get the house, so you get the cars, so you get the women, so you get the men. Great, it's wonderful. Who are you? Why are you here? What's the purpose of your life? We don't have time for those questions until we're the brokest guy in the room. And then, boy, don't they come crashing through. And you got all the time in the world when you're the brokest guy in the room. Nobody wants you, so it's just you. It's just you with you. And I say I'm a yoga teacher. I don't teach hatha yoga, which is posture yoga. No, I teach some of the other limbs of yoga. Contemplation, meditation, inquiry, chanting. These are the tools, as well as hatha yoga, that we need desperately to go into our breaks, into our cracks, and discover how what just happened to us is the best thing that could have happened to us. So throughout this podcast, what we want to encourage you to do is take some steps in the right direction, take steps in becoming the brokest guy in the room. Let some stuff go from your life and see what happens. See what shows up. Yeah, are you going to be scared? You bet your ass you are going to be scared.
If you're not, you're not paying attention.
If you're not paying attention. And yeah, really, Chris and I were just sitting here talking about, the media and the news. Make no bones about it. Come on, that's a distraction. We pay them to do that, Oh no, Roe versus Wade. Oh no, Trump. Oh no, oh no, oh no. These are distractions. They're built in to the system that we're inside of. Until you don't want them, they're totally serving their purpose, allowing us to be distracted. From what? From being the brokest guy, gal in the room, from the cracks inside of ourselves, from the cracks that are really in our relationships. Chris was just talking about wisdom he shared with his daughter. I remember back when my kids were growing up, I would do things. I'd run lights, take curves too fast, and my kids said, "Why do you do that?" And I said, "Rules are meant to be bent." Not broken, but bent. The brokest guy in the room walks away from his or her breaks and realizes, yeah, that's the freedom you get from that. You get to bend rules. You get to bend time. You get to open up to destiny. And you get to see the power of having an intention for your life, of having a mindfulness practice, a meditation practice. It doesn't have to be all day. It doesn't even have to be an hour. A couple of times a day. Put your phone down. Go into the crack inside of you and just sit. Watch what changes outside of you. Watch who shows up in your life. What opportunities come your way. When we're the brokest guy in the room, we're ready to embrace anything. We take the blinders off. We stop thinking that money comes in from one source only. Who knows where it's going to come from? Who knows what opportunities? And Chris, you've talked about this a lot. You start focusing on opportunities more than just money.
You kind of just put my thought in, and I think the breaking point, the moment that matters is the moment you realize that when you are a brokest guy in the room, when you are in that position, everything's an opportunity. Every conversation, every person you look at, everywhere you go, all you have to do is show up. That's the big secret of life. There's two big secrets that I've really, really kind of changed my life. They've become pillars for me. I'll start with the secret to success. It's very simple. Do what you say you're going to do. You know, for you, for them. Is it worth saying if you're not going to do it? We do this a lot. We tell little lies. Why? To what end? They make our life harder.
Right.
You know? The other secret for me, and this was the challenge of a lifetime in this one, and that's gauging your expectations. The truth about happiness is that when we are disappointed with people, it's because we expected the wrong things of them.
Yep.
So, I earlier was talking about how I met Ravi and when he came to me in my life. Well, what was plaguing me was I had these ultra high expectations of people who could never reach them. And that wasn't fair to them. That's no more fair than it is for me to set a goal to go outside right now and run 10 miles. I am not a runner. I absolutely hate running. That is not going to happen. What I am going to do is build negative momentum. And I'll tell you that there's the third real thing about it is that life, every minute, every second of every day is about momentum. Which way are you blowing the pendulum to swing? Because your action and inaction is all action. Whether you do something or you don't, it still implies something. There is still an implication, an effect, and a consequence to deal with, you know? And so every minute of every day we have a choice to make. Do I want to build negative momentum or positive momentum? Because that's it. You know, I used to say, you always have to choose from the options that are on the table, not the ones you wish that were on the table. And a lot of people get stuck in limbo, and they can lose. Yeah, I tell you this also. I have made a good living capitalizing on that indecision because I don't wait. I won't wait. Yeah. And for most people, they get so stuck in that. And, you know, that takes us right back to intention setting, you know?
Yeah. When you're the brokest guy in the room, what you come to realize is your life isn't happening to you. It's happening for you. This ego that we have learned, we've created a society that is coddling at every turn, has to be broken apart. And, you know, it's really about, you know, taking a sledgehammer to it. Big things that happen to you, they're only going to do one thing. They're going to crack your ego open. There's a great story from the scriptures about a great Buddhist teacher named Milarepa. When Milarepa was a young man, he practiced the black arts, black magic. And his whole family did. And he, one day, his uncle and his aunt stole his inheritance from, you know, his father's death. And Milarepa was so furious that he cast a spell on them and he killed them. He killed both of them. His mother knew it, his sisters knew it, everybody knew it. Oh, he got the house, he got all his money back, but it was inside of him. Day comes that he meets his master, his guru. He's walking up to meet his guru, and his guru is just staring at him. In that minute, Milarepa becomes the brokest guy in the room because he knows his guru is seeing what he did. His guru doesn't say a word to him. Milarepa says, I'm here to serve. I truly want to know who I am. Whatever you give me, I'll do. Very good. Come back in a day. Comes back in a day. Gives him a schema, a rough draft of a house. I want you to build me this house. I don't know how to build a house. I'm not a builder. Do you want me to get you a builder? No, you said you'll do anything. Well, are you going to build the house or not? Do you have any dimensions? Don't bother me with details. Are you going to do it or not? All right, fine. Where's the stuff I use? Come with me. Takes him to this broken down old construction site. Use the stuff in the grounds here to do this. And Milarepa's like, all right. Let me look at the diagram. Oh, this is the house you want. Yes, that's the house I want. Build it for me. And the teacher leaves. 3 days, 3 weeks, who knows? Teacher comes back, and Milarepa has a foundation. And he's just like, turns to his teacher and he goes, this is kind of fun. This is cool. Look, I figured out a foundation. This is really good. I think it's pretty solid. And teacher looks at it and goes, what are you looking at? I'm looking at your blueprint. Look, it's a triangle. It's a rectangle. You put it together. You idiot, you're looking at it backwards. Turn it around. No, if I turn around, don't bother me with details. You either do this or you don't. And he leaves. 3 days later, he comes back. Milarepa has turned it around. Well, I found a way to stabilize it. It looks like it's going to work, and now I've got walls up. Walls? It's supposed to be round. Can't you read a simple blueprint I put together? This is not round. This is, again, with the defense. You're so defensive. I can't even talk to you. He leaves. Milarepa begins the process of finding circular stone and circular wood to build a round room. Teacher comes back. My wife has been yelling at me all morning long. This is painful. I can't stand this. What the hell is that? That's the round room. You told me to build a round room. Yeah, you're incorrigible. I can't work with you. Who makes a round room? You told me this. Don't tell me that. The last time I came here, my wife had just beaten me all morning long. You can't expect me to tell you things that I'm going to understand then. Tear it down and do it again. Finally, Milarepa says, you know what? Forget it. I don't want this. I'm not a builder. I told you I wasn't. I'm not going to do this for you. What does that mean? I'm leaving. Obviously, you're doing something for my ego or for me. Well, it worked. All right? I'm out of here. I quit. Is that what you wanted? You wanted me to quit, didn't you? Fine. I quit. He leaves. 1 week goes by. 2 weeks goes by. He begins to sit again for meditation. This pining rises up inside of him. He misses his teacher. He sees that guilt he carried for what he did to his uncle and his aunt has decreased. He was feeling better about himself. He starts to see the deeper magic that's really happening in this seva, this selfless service that his teacher gave him, that the house was really about him. It was about houses he built inside of himself to hide from the world, to hide from, his sins, right? And sin just means to miss the mark. You just missed the mark. You wanted something and you didn't get it. He goes back to his teacher. He says, I'll do anything. Give me the blueprint. Teacher looks at him and goes, oh no, that one's over. you left that one. He goes, well, what am I going to do? I can't tell you. But my question to you is, how much are you willing to just give it all up? And he said, I've never felt better about myself in my life since what I did. I don't care. I'll do it all. The truth is, Milarepa went on, when that teacher died, he told his disciples, Milarepa was maligned for his entire time in that ashram. Everybody hated him. Nobody spent any time with him. Because one of the things the teacher did was told everybody what Milarepa did. The teacher, when he was dying, they said, who is your successor? Initiate Milarepa. Milarepa became an enormous influence in the world. He introduced Buddhism to so many countries, to so many people. And we have Buddhism in our life today because of Milarepa. This is the power for me of the willingness. And maybe that's something, I'm touching on what you touched on, Chris, is it really starts with willingness. Like, to keep going, no matter what's happening. How crushed you are, you keep going. Because what other choice do you have? These are the benefits of being the brokest guy in the room. And it opens up a door inside of you that we hope this podcast is going to teach all of us. How can we do that? How can we keep getting the blueprints that have changed?
I'll tell a quick story as a metaphor towards my intention for this podcast. There's a lot of things I could be doing on this particular day. Those who know me know I'm a very busy person. I thrive myself on movement. I even have Keep Moving tattooed on my wrist. It's a reminder that, it's like they say, right? Idle hands are really the devil's tools, and not being a religious person, I can still adopt the principle. But in any case, my intention for this podcast is to really help people experience what I've experienced. Truth be told, it feels damn good to be me. It feels fantastic. To have survived what I've survived, to be here, to have the freedom I have, to wake up every morning and to embrace the universe and say, what do I feel like? What's presented to me? I always go back to the notion there's few things you can get everybody on the planet to agree on. Very few things, but right. One of them is that hindsight is 2020. I have never in my life had somebody argue that point to me. Well, let's think about that. Let's peel that onion. If that's the case, well, then that means the signs are all around us every freaking day. So it's important to look up. The story I'm about to tell you is about what happens when you look up. In high school, I was always big into sports. In my family, I was the pipsqueak of the litter. My brothers are older than me. They're way bigger than me. They're taller than me. So I grew up with a chip on my shoulder the size of a planet. I mean, I had to prove myself. Further, I didn't have the athletic prowess. When I was younger, I was short, fat, and slow. Well, I had to do something about that. In any case, fast forward a couple of years, and I managed to, through hard work, transform myself, and it was really a labor of love, and that everyday reminder, that momentum thing. I start every day with my exercise. I discovered football, right? And I had a dream. I wanted to be a running back so bad. I didn't get that spot initially, but what I did get was a linebacker, right? I was always a linebacker. And any linebacker coach in the country, anybody who's ever been a linebacker, is going to recite to you, head on a swivel. Means keep your eyes open, left and right. Little did I know at the time that this would be the greatest life lesson I would ever learn, right? Open eyes, aware, look at, your surroundings are worth reacting to. Holy shit, what a principle. Imagine that. Well, when it really hit home, a few years later, I did get the opportunity to be a running back. Started sophomore year. And man, I ran hard. For a little guy, I hit people hard. But I didn't get very far. I just kind of head down and ran hard as hell into whoever and hit him as hard as I could. I didn't score no touchdowns, but I had this dream. I really wanted to score a touchdown before I graduated high school. Man, if I went through my whole football career and I never scored a touchdown, that would just suck, right? And boy, I came pretty close to never having experienced what it's like to score a touchdown. And holy shit, let me tell you, it's pretty awesome. I remember the game. I'll never forget the game. It ended up being, it's a funny story actually, because I had a hell of a game. Ended up being a terrible day for me personally. But the moment in particular I'm talking about, I was running, it was right up the middle. It was 32 dive, fullback right up the middle. And something incredible happened. I looked up. First time I ever looked up with the football in my hands. And wouldn't you know, I saw a path. I went left, I went right, and I hit the freaking end zone. And holy cow, what a feeling. What a feeling for anybody who's never scored a touchdown. I'm so sorry, because it's an incredible feeling. And it's one that I came so close to never experiencing, because I almost didn't look up. I almost didn't acknowledge that my surroundings were worth reacting to. And that's what this is all about. That's what my intention is here. That's what I hope to give to everybody listening. It's the empowerment, the knowledge that there are things there worth reacting to. That if you do look, if you have the audacity to show up with intention, you can do it. You will do it. You will get to where you're going. I promise you, you are surrounded by everything you need on this world to succeed. I promise you. You just don't see it yet. And I promise you that 20 years from now, you'd look back and say, man, hindsight's 2020. Well, open your eyes right now. That's what we're doing here. That's what I hope for you. I hope this is for you what looking up in that football game was for me. Because I'll tell you what, it's a game changer. It's an absolute game changer. Intention is everything. Know what you're doing and why you're doing it, because success doesn't happen by accident. I plead with you, if you're listening to this, take a moment. Dare to pause, dare to stop and think. Action is useless without thought. If you just run straight, you will run into something, and it will hurt, and you'll fall down, and you'll be done running. So open your eyes, look around you. There's an incredible world out there, and there is a hell of a promising future. Tomorrow, man, what a concept tomorrow. It's always there. Every morning you wake up, it's always there. There's always something to aspire to. So that's it in a nutshell. That's my hope for you. That's why I'm doing this. It's in hope to help you open your eyes to realize that the people, because and I use the term Brokest Guy in the room, it's because we all have it. We all have jealousy. Any human being on this planet is going to tell you about somebody who just has more, who's just better, we all have it. What do we take from that, though? Do we just walk around being upset? Because, happiness is a choice. Anybody who thinks happiness happens by accident, I'm sorry for you, but you need to get your head checked. It's not. It takes work. Just like love, it takes work. It's a choice that you make every day. It's a commitment. It's a contract that you sign with yourself. And if you choose to be miserable, if you are miserable, if you're angry, I beg you to go stand in front of the mirror. I beg you to. Because I promise you, the answers are right there. Look yourself deep in the eyes, and you'll find it. You know in your gut what's stopping you. You know what the barrier is. You know what the hurdle is. Have the audacity to jump over it.
That's a great story, Chris. I guess my story was, I was a thin, weak little guy. And my father was the baseball coach of our entire town. He used to get guys from the city, put his address on where he lived in the county for these kids to be able to join his baseball team so that he could win, the championship. People sort of say, wait a minute, where does that guy live? Right here, this address. That's your address. Yeah, well, I'm keeping him in my house for the season. That's the kind of driven man that he was. And of course, as a young boy, I wanted to please my father. But I could never do it. I could never do it. And I had an experience like yours, but it was different. I was out in right field watching the grass grow, because if nobody hits in right field in the professionals, in Pee-wee baseball, definitely nobody hits the right field. And this ball got hit out over the first baseman's head, and I am freaking running for this ball. And I simply put my glove up in the air, and the ball falls into my glove. I was astounded in that moment. I'm just standing there looking at the ball in my glove, and it became completely silent. I didn't hear the crowd. I heard nothing. I was just in awe and silence. And the next moment, I hear my father's voice shout out over the crowd, "Congratulations! Happy birthday, Patrick!" My given name, Patrick. And everybody laughs. Well, I'm pulled right back into the moment. Now I'm embarrassed and I'm ashamed again, because I spent a lot of my childhood feeling ashamed of myself, of who I was not. But my story of the brokest guy in the room was, it took a long, long time for me to see, who are you? Who are you? When you're not comparing yourself against other people, when you're not seeking your father's approval for catching that ball, who are you? I'm the guy who's amazed at what just happened. And I just stuck my hand up in the air and the ball fell into my glove. It took me years for people to work my way out of people telling me, that just doesn't happen. You must have done something. But that's not my experience. So if I'm here for anybody, I'm here for the person who all you want to do is know who you are first. Know who you are. Spend some time with yourself. If it's just in these podcasts, great. It'll grow. You'll start to have signs show up. Chris was talking about intention. Intention is very important. My intention for the last 3 years has been trust. It's been one of the hardest 3 years of my life. Marriage ended, another marriage. But that intention has never left me. I have learned how to trust the moment, how to trust myself, how to trust people around me. And that comes to be a really cool thing. Chris and I were recently talking about how people turn against us. And I reflected back on, when my own family, so I perceived, turned against me. And the truth, Truth is just another word for nothing left to lose. When I look back on my childhood, I ridiculed people with them. I made fun of people who were gay. I made fun of people who were of color. Why did I think when I became a person who was in that category, they wouldn't do that to me? Because that's who they are. And they're honest. And that is one of the most beautiful gifts my family ever gave me, which is these people are honest. I don't know if they care about loving me or not loving me, but they're friggin' honest. And they've been honest their whole life. So I appreciate that. I appreciate honesty now in my life. So my intention is trust. I've been on a roller coaster of learning just how powerful it is to trust every single moment and to stop at looking for other people to approve. Love, appreciation, and approval. 3 things that the brokest guy in the room will definitely know do not move you forward in life. You have to find those inside yourself. And when your family, if you're on this podcast and you're noticing your family has turned against you, congratulations! You're super set. You're ready to go. Because these people are being honest with you, okay? If you think these people love you, they do love you. They're showing you who they really are. Instead of asking them to love you, can you love them when they're judging you? Can you do that? Because that's not easy. If you've got kids, if you get really honest with yourself, do you love your kids exactly the way they are? Do you love your kids when they don't want to have anything to do with you? When they get honest with you and say, leave me alone, I want to live my own life? Or do you resent the fact that you gave them so much and they have no right? They have no right. I've heard myself say it, and I've heard plenty of clients say it. You have no right to do that. Oh, really? Now you're honest? Now you're showing your true colors? Good. Start there. And start to see how love is honesty. If you can be with people who are really honest with you, you are understanding love. I loved my father. My father was honest with me. From the day I woke up in his presence, he was honest. And he taught me how self-honesty is key. You have to learn it. We're not taught it in this culture. So one of the things this podcast is going to teach is, how do you do that? Well, you start to look for. There's that great scene in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood with Brad Pitt.
Yeah, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah. When Brad Pitt is looking back on his life and he's wondering, why is he a handyman working on his buddy's, who's an actor's house, when he was a stuntman and he had a career and he had a direction? Well, he has charges against him that he killed his wife. Everybody thinks he did. And he just got a job as a stuntman and he friggin' blew it by beating up somebody and ruining, the producer's car. And she literally turns to him and says, see, this is why you are where you are. And you look at his face in that moment and he nods his head. He's like, fair enough. We made the life we have, but only until today. So our life is meant to break us. Maybe the first half of our life is meant to break us so that we can see that the light is not coming from the outside, it's coming from the inside. The brokest guy in the room is the guy who, lives out that euphemism. Freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. When everybody leaves you, when you've been busted out of a number of businesses, I have some of the best relationships with clients and friends, some who are still in prison and others who have been. And they say, it's awesome. It's an awesome experience to go through that, Ravi. Because you're with people who are fucking honest. And you learn that that's what it means to be the brokest guy in the room. You're finally honest about who you are, why you made the choices we made, because we did make those choices. Even if we chose not to decide, we still have made a decision. And life will reflect that back. So start with honesty. Start with recognizing where you're broken, and instead of trying to fix it, lean into it. Find where the light comes out of there. Ask your friends when you're high, when you're straight. Tell me about myself. What do you think? What do you think of me? Honestly.
Dangerous.
Dangerous. And watch what happens. But you know what's really beautiful? You might hear stuff about yourself that you're really an incredible human being. Not an incredible human doing, an incredible human being. You're here to be, not to do. And you're sure as shit not here to have. So start there. Just take it on. Find the ways you're the brokest guy in the room and the brokest gal. Because there's a lot of women who can understand this too. And lean into that. And show up for podcasts. We got to do something where we're live, where people can write to us and talk to us. So we'll find a way to do that too. We're just going to share openly and honestly and share what we've learned by being two of the brokest guys in the room. And you know what? Your life is happening for you. It doesn't stop. If you got a roof over your head, wherever that is, you got shoes on your feet, you're okay. You're all right. And maybe that's enough. Last thing is, they did a study on the people who jumped and survived from the San Francisco Bay Bridge. The one thing they found they all have in common was the minute they stepped off that ledge, that guardrail, every single one of them said the only thing that came through their mind was, this was a mistake. This was a mistake. And nothing else mattered. The only thing that mattered was what they just did. That's the state of mind we get into by really leaning into the cracks, into the breaks, is realizing that. And every single one of those people was grateful that they lived. I sometimes wonder, is that why they lived? Because they actually recognized that the last choice you made is the only choice that matters. The choice you're about to make is the only choice that matters. Nothing else matters. And I use that literally. Matters. It doesn't have matter. It's not solid. None of them. Those decisions got you here. It's the next one. The one that's right in front of you. That's all that matters. That's all that's going to show up in your life. Build on it. Make it a good choice.
I guess in closing, the last thing I want to talk about is gratitude. I've recently discovered the real importance of gratitude.
Amen.
And it's easy to be gracious for the good, but the power comes in being gracious for the bad because it's relative. It's not actually bad. It stings at the moment, but everything's relative. All the bad things in my life that happened to me made me a piece of iron, made me strong, and I'm grateful for them. So the universe behaves much like a human being. Having a kid teaches you a lot, right? You learn, what happens when I do this? What happens when I do that? What happens when I don't do this? Well, the one thing that I've really learned is that the universe must be a parent, right? Because for me in my life, the turning point was gratitude. Mm-hmm. The moment I started looking at everything coming my way and being gracious for all of it, accepting all the good and the bad with gratitude, because I'm still here to freaking accept it. And that, in and of itself, is the most incredible thing, I'm still here to accept it. Hit me, it hurts, but I'm still there breathing, The more grace that I present to the world, the more gratitude that I present to the universe in all that it gives me, I have learned and I am experiencing in real time that it wants to give me more, just like a human being. When you give to somebody, how they receive your gift dictates your desire to give them more. And the same is true here. The universe is no different. I have found, and I promise you it's real, that if you are gracious to the universe for all it gives you, it will want to give you with grace. I'll leave you with that. This is Chris and Ravi from the Brokest Guy in the Room. We hope to keep you listening. Cheers.
Cheers.